125 करोड़ देशवासी एक कदम चले तो ये देश 125 करोड़ कदम आगे चला जाएगा। मैं आज लाल किले की प्राचीर से विश्व भर में लोगों से कहना चाहता हूं, कम मेक इन इंडिया।
Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha Television's special edition on Budget 2015. The Narendra Modi government presented its first budget in July last year, but that was essentially seen as an expression of the new government's intentions. This year's budget is different. People are looking forward to see what measures it will contain to promote investment, boost manufacturing and improve India's competitiveness. But can the budget proposals really provide momentum to the Make in India campaign? Can they help in making India a manufacturing hub? Whenever they thought of his career, Satish's family thought a job with an MNC or the government, employment that brought home regular and timely paid checks. But Satish had a different dream. He wanted to be his own boss and run a business enterprise. Setting it up though was easier said than done. After facing n number of challenges, Satish got his own manufacturing unit of automobile components up and running. Along the way, he also came across some inescapable conclusions. India is gripped by a manufacturing drought, and the sector itself is hobbled by several constraints.
Today we are living in a very competitive world. We have to improve our products and processes. For this we need a lot of time and innovation, and for this we need a free mind. But the entrepreneurs today, including me, we are having a lot of our time diverted to handling issues related to government.
If a task well begun is half done, then the Make in India campaign is truly off to a great start. With inspiring rhetoric and a flashy global advertising push, the Narendra Modi government has got everyone talking about it. The idea of India becoming a destination for investment for Indian and global investors alike has captured the nation's imagination. And the economy too has room enough to more than accommodate it. Manufacturing contributes just 17% of India's GDP compared to as much as 69% from services. The rest 14% comes from agriculture. Of the 474 million Indians who are gainfully employed, only 100 million hold manufacturing jobs, while 232 million people work on farms and 142 million in the service sector. The time couldn't have been more right for the Make in India campaign. Global oil prices have dropped. Chinese economy is in the throes of a slowdown. And India has at the center a government with unprecedented stability, capable of driving reforms and policies for its manufacturing sector. Add to these an abundance of natural resources, a large young force, a low per capita consumption of almost every product and commodity, and certain manufacturing sectors that already rank among the best in the world.
We've got a large number of young people. We think of it as an opportunity to produce a demographic dividend, but if these people don't get employed, we will have a big problem. And the problem would be a social problem, it will be a political problem also. So that's one reason, that is jobs, for which manufacturing, which hasn't done very well for the country so far, needs to be pushed to create more jobs in manufacturing.
The key ingredient to make in India attractive for doing business is the ease with which it can be set up. World Bank data up to 1st June 2014 showed India at an abysmally low rank of 142 among 189 nations. Even more alarming were the ranking on constituent, 158th on starting a business, 186th in informing contracts, 184th in dealing with construction permits. The government wants to remedy this. On the ease of doing business, it wants India to occupy a place among the top 50 in the World Bank rankings.
The entrepreneurs have to take, it's not really a registration, they have to file a memorandum of entrepreneurship. So it has two phases. So we've developed a portal and we've made it online.
India's predominantly agrarian enterprise leapfrogged into a services-dominated economy after the reforms of early 90s. But the reforms completely skipped industrial growth, which meant that India couldn't replicate the industrial revolution witnessed by European countries. And now, India is pushing national manufacturing policy, which is expected not only to bolster manufacturing, but also provide the missing link in India's growth story.
The new manufacturing policy was introduced in 2011. It aims to create 100 million jobs and by 2022 targets a 25% share of manufacturing in the gross domestic product, up from the present 17%. Key to the policy, establishing national investment and manufacturing zones that are planned to be developed as greenfield industrial townships with standards comparable to the best manufacturing hubs in the world. Planning is underway for industrial corridors and manufacturing zones. But costs of logistics in India are among the most prohibitive. There are significant wastages, while travel time for products to reach markets or ports is one of the highest in the world. In order to connect manufacturing plants with markets, the budget will have to set aside huge allocations for the infrastructure sector to build roads, ports and railway tracks over the next few years.
These very ambitious plans of the industrial corridors and the industrial zones, but funding for creating world-class infrastructure is still to take place. So the most important expectation from my point of view would be that the budget provides for that long-term funding.
Power outages have strangled many a business in India. The World Bank says India lost as much as 21% electricity in 2011 through transmission losses and pilferage. That's worse than nations like Ghana and Senegal. State-owned enterprises monopolize the electricity sector both at the central and the state levels. Private ownership and distribution is not only difficult, but it only accounts for less than 20% of the entire sector, creating an absence of competition in the market. Renewable energy that's more suitable to private production lacks funding and is mired in difficult legislation.
On the one hand, investment projects, speeding up investment projects in creating new capacity, and on the other hand we need to utilize the existing capacity to the fullest extent possible by making available inputs such as coal.
We are becoming larger importers not only of oil but also coal, and as a major fossil fuel importing country, it is essential for us to use energy efficiently, to move towards greater use of renewable energy.
Another problem area for manufacturing are archaic labour laws in India. Investors find them restrictive. Although progress has been made since reforms started in 1991, the labour market is still subjected to around 250 rules at the central and the state level. India's labour system needs to balance the needs of both employers and employees to evolve an environment for productive employment with safety nets.
First of all, we want to change the entire system into the e-governance mode. E-governance, that is e-Kranti. E-Kranti will provide transparency. Once transparency and accountability comes, then automatically both the section, employer and employee, both can be benefited.
Manufacturing is a specialized field. It needs precise abilities, which is where India is at a disadvantage. Not only there is a severe shortfall of necessary skills, but also a lack of managerial skills, with young and talented people pursuing more lucrative careers.
Every year, thousands of students graduate with flying colors. They come out of colleges with degrees in engineering and business studies, but end up in the market searching for the elusive first job. While we blame industry for not giving young graduates a chance to work, the fact remains that 55% graduates are deemed unemployable in the manufacturing sector. The quality, training and education for such jobs are simply absent. The reason is, of course, they are simply not equipped to work in the industry. Kai manufactures steel casts for major global giants. At the home turf, shortage of skilled manpower is costing him dear. He feels that India's demographic bulge, with the millions of young people flooding the job markets in the next decade, is in danger of sliding into a lopsided paunch that will weigh the nation.
The new graduate engineers that we get fresh from the colleges, they know a lot about computers, say for example Facebook, but when it comes to the real engineering part of it, they just don't match the standards required in the industry.
Time for a quick break, lots more on the other side. Welcome back. So can the Budget 2015 provide much awaited impetus to the Make in India project? Well, at the very least, as a starting point, the government will have to identify strengths and opportunities in each sector and create roadmap with specific targets for each year.
Given the hype, there is considerable excitement about what the nature of policy reforms that the government wants to introduce to put the economy on a higher growth trajectory. The business community has a wish list that range from tax swaps for investment in key sectors to a reduction in the minimum alternate tax rate. It also wants the nationwide goods and services tax, that's GST, to be implemented, the numerous indirect tax laws to be removed. Heavy industries and public enterprises want the reintroduction of excise duty benefits. The MSME ministry has also proposed that the mainstay of the Make in India initiative, the micro, small and medium enterprises, should get direct tax exemptions in the first 3 years of operations, a move that could be tough to implement.
आने वाले बजट में मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि पिछली बार की तुलना में अच्छी राशि होनी चाहिए। ये तो मैं नहीं कहूँगा कि बहुत अधिक होगी, लेकिन पिछली बार की तुलना में बजट की बढ़ोतरी होगी।
Today, one of the other reasons why manufacturing probably has not taken off is because of the very painful tax structure that India has had so far. And that's again, I mean, again, we are talking in the context of the budget coming up in a few days' time, and I think that's where one would look forward to seeing how that can be a transparent, moving towards a more transparent system of taxation.
Indigenous defense production has become the cynosure of the government. The Indian aerospace and defense market is among the most attractive globally, and the government is keen to leverage this in order to promote investment and build an indigenous manufacturing base in India. India's annual defense import bill is roughly around $20 billion US. In contrast, India's domestic defense production is around $7 billion. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asserted that the government did not want India to be the biggest importer of defense equipment in the world and has vowed to double the output of defense manufacturing in the country.
20 to 25% reduction in imports could directly create an additional 100,000 120,000 highly skilled jobs in India. If we could raise the percentage of domestic procurement from 40% to 70% in the next 5 years, we would double the output in our defense industry.
At an average 7% contribution, automobile industry is one of the key drivers of economic growth. And as the economic recovery has lagged, so has the sector growth. Since 2011-12, Indian auto industry has been plagued with sluggish growth. The first signs of trouble started in 2011-12 when the growth halved from 25% in 2010-11 to 12.5%. This sector has garnered high hopes from the finance minister.
There is a need to reduce the taxation to more moderate levels, which definitely is going to improve the affordability of that vehicle.
Sobs and concessions are nuts and bolts for the Make in India project. But India's manufacturing sector needs an enduring brand image as well. Just as German manufacturing is known for superior engineering, Japanese for quality, and Chinese for low cost of production.
If the Indian manufacturing sector has to be popularized for innovation, it's essential to build a brand beginning now, with funds allocated for building a culture of innovation.
I think as we graduate to a manufacturing, we must make sure that our Indian industry is considered to produce products which have the same standards as we see when we look at a product made in either Germany or the US.
If we look at the upcoming budget from political perspective, then there's little doubt that the Aam Aadmi Party's staggering victory in the Delhi Assembly polls has put the government in quandary.
Taking stock of the electoral verdict in favor of the Aam Aadmi Party, there is a growing sentiment that the government shouldn't administer the bitter medicine that's claimed is needed to rescue the economy. In any case, the land acquisition ordinance is not seen to have gone well down with the voters in the Delhi's rural areas, and in fact is believed to have fueled popular anger against the BJP. But the finance minister, Arun Jaitley, has said that the government will vigorously pursue economic policy changes undeterred by the defeat suffered in the Delhi Assembly election and allayed concerns that the upcoming budget may be populist in nature.
Government is determined to go ahead on the path of economic reforms. The fact that 4 elections have been won and 1 has not been won is absolutely no ground for believing that there would be any slowdown on the path on which we have undertaken.
Over 9 months after coming into power, Narendra Modi government will be presenting its first full-fledged budget. It is expected to provide a blueprint of its reform program that should push the Indian economy close to 8% growth on a sustainable basis. It should also help improve overall competitiveness and foster a business climate that will attract investments, be they domestic or overseas.
A proper competition policy will ensure that the manufacturing sector grows in a very healthy environment, and most of all, the consumer will use the products of the manufacturing sector and the end user. They'll be greatly benefited, and so will the economy.
Call given by the Prime Minister on ease of manufacturing in the country is a very important call. But unfortunately, it has not trickled down to the lowest level.
Unless these concerns are adequately addressed, the Prime Minister's Make in India initiative will remain an illusion. But there is no reason to be that way. Given that manufacturing sector holds all the answers to transform India's economic future, not only by boosting the GDP, but also creating much needed jobs and encouraging exports.
6 months is what most politicians get to bask in the adulation of electoral win. The new government's 6-month lease on public goodwill technically ended in November 2014. The finance minister has already hinted at unleashing spending cuts. So can he stick to the reform agenda and provide booster shot for the manufacturing sector? That remains to be seen. Well, that's all we could pack for you in this edition. Thanks for watching.